Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Midweek Minutes. This past Sunday, I started a new series that's entitled Skills, and it's an acronym which stands for Surrender Knowing Intellectually, Live Like Scripture Says. And it's about the skills we need as a disciple of Jesus Christ. And one of those first skills that we have to develop is our skill to surrender. Now, our passage was taken from Galatians chapter 2, verses 19 to 21. And it says, "My old self has been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. So I live in this earthly body by trusting in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not treat the grace of God as meaningless, for if keeping the law could make us right with God, then there was no need for Christ to die." Now, in this passage, the Apostle Paul is rebutting some Judaizers who's trying to promote that circumcision was a necessity for salvation. Well, we know that salvation is a free gift from God, and that no one can boast about it by their works, by their own self-righteousness. And so we have to surrender our thought that we can make ourselves right with God by the things we do, instead of just freely accepting his gracious salvation that justifies us because of what Christ did on the cross. Now, I'm here in my yard, and it's one of the things that I love to do. You know, growing up many times in my childhood, I was in more of an urban environment, and I didn't have this land, you know, not that I have a bunch of land, but I have a decent sized backyard. And in Florida, I have all sorts of bugs, lizards, frogs, spiders, squirrels, and I coexist with them. You know, I often have spider webs around, and people may walk into them and ask, why I have these spider webs? Well, you know, I live and let live, and the spider webs help to catch the insects. It's that circle of life. I've even shared that I have a possum who has a house underneath my shed. And so I come out here on a daily basis just to enjoy the outside. What's my point? There are things that we do on a daily basis. And this passage reminds us when it says, I am crucified with Christ. That's talking about that old man. And daily, we have to crucify that old man and not allow that old man to rise up. You know, we have a sinful nature and we have our new spiritual nature. And we had a point on Sunday that says, the nature that predominantly leads is the nature that will eventually succeed. So we have to crucify. Now, I have something to show, and I'm not here to gross anybody out, but it's just a solemn reminder that we daily have to die. And we have to put our old self to death. And, you know, like I said, I like to come out here in the backyard, and to my dismay, I came out today, and one of my co-inhabitants in this yard somehow found themselves tangled up in my security camera. And what I'm about to show you is just a gruesome reminder of the death that we must daily face when it comes to crucifying our old man and picking up our cross daily. And so unfortunately, I came out to this scene where the possum somehow got tangled up in that cord. And, you know, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have to get the possum and throw it out, but I don't want my family dealing with that. I don't want my daughter coming out here as she's putting the recycling away. I don't want my dog coming out here and thinking that someone left them a snack. And so I have to surrender to my own way and desires of not having to deal with that thing that's skeeving me out, and consider all the other lives that it affects. Consider the sacrifice I have to make because of my love for others. So I encourage you, remember that you've been crucified with Christ. Remember that he demonstrated his love for us, that while we were yet sinners, He died for us. And what we can do in return is embrace that love, that free gift of grace, and daily die to our own self so that our new nature can surrender to God's will and to God's way. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Midweek Minutes, and I hope you again will join me for next week's episode. Bye for now.